They've now decided that they're going to remove him from the plane.
I don't know how else to put it, but it was a disaster. Just constant yelling and screaming, people walking up and down the aisle. That was the craziest airline experience that I've ever experienced in my life. Boom! What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living in West Africa. I'm in Sierra Leone right now, and if you want to know what it was like leaving Lagos and coming to Sierra Leone and all the issues that I had, then this is the video for you. All right, cool. So we are in week 69 of my time living here in West Africa. As I mentioned in the intro, I had an adventure, let's say, coming from Lagos to Freetown. I don't know how else to put it, but it was a disaster. From start to end, Air Peace is not a great airline. Unfortunately, it's the only airline that'll get you from Lagos to Freetown on a direct flight. Otherwise, you do have to do a layover somewhere. So anyway, we're gonna talk about that flight and that journey and the disaster that was. All right, guys, so let's get right into it. Okay, first things first. So let's start with the airport. Of course, my ticket didn't go through. I went through a third party. Air Peace said they didn't get the transaction. I had to basically buy a new ticket. Then I had to pay for the overweight. And the flight was delayed by 2 hours, right? Okay, fine. These are all challenges. It is what it is. All right, guys, I'm on my way back to the airport, heading out to Sierra Leone. I had to book an extra ticket because apparently my original ticket didn't go through, even though I got a confirmation, even though I got a text message from the airline, even though I got an email from the airline, even though the money came out of my account. The airline says that they didn't receive payment. So now I had to pay for a new ticket, and I have to go back through the third party to get my money back. This is West Africa problems. So after all that, I get to security. And you know the security checkpoint where you check your bags, you know, you put it through the conveyor belt so that they can x-ray it. Of course, they tell me that the pick I have is quote unquote a weapon. So then they confiscate my pick before I can go. It was an issue, all issues. But anyway, lesson learned. So we get down to our gate finally, and when we're at the gate, they're not giving us any updates. So the 2 hours have gone by, right? So the flight was supposed to leave at 2, it's 4 p.m., and we're still sitting at the gate and nothing has happened. By 4:30, we see people coming back and forth. We're like, what is going on? They said, inclement weather. Even though other planes have flown out, they're telling us inclement weather is the reason why this plane has not left as of yet. So now we are 2.5 hours beyond the time we were supposed to leave. I just pull out my laptop, I start working on a presentation that I had to present the next day. So I'm just being productive, but now it's 5 o'clock and the flight that is going to Ghana, my friend was on that flight. His flight left from our gate. So they come down, pass our gate, board their flight, fly to Ghana. There's another flight going to Dubai. They come down, pass through our gate, board their flight, fly to Dubai. We are still sitting there. Now it's 6 o'clock and we see the plane start to come in. We say, okay, great. 6 o'clock, the plane is here. We're gonna board the plane. It's like another 30 minutes before we board that plane. So around 6:30, we board the plane. We had a situation on the plane though.
All right, now after all of that,
We have been sitting on the plane now for a little over an hour. So what ended up happening is they didn't bring this thing that was supposed to push us back from the gate. We're now just sitting here. No updates, no nothing. 5 minutes was supposed to be the time it was supposed to take to get us to move back away from the gate. This is air peace.
So it's frustrating. We're not moving. We don't know what's going on. We're sitting on the plane. We're like, why haven't we moved as of yet? So the pilot asked us to buckle our seatbelts, sit in our seat. We're getting ready to taxi and take off. I go to the bathroom. They don't allow me to use the restroom, even though we've been sitting there 5 minutes and haven't moved at all. So a guy gets up, bangs on the overhead and says, I go make wahala, I go fem plaba naya. Like that, a little louder. And he said, watch, and then he sits down, right? A little aggressive, a lot, but we understand the frustration, and then he sits down. Another 30 minutes goes by and we do not move. We do not move. Pilot doesn't say anything. The flight attendants don't say anything. They're still seated in the back and in the front. They've already done the fasten your seatbelts, put your mask on yourself first before you help others. They've done all of that, right? They've done the whole, and so we're just sitting there. We're like, what is going on? So people are like grumbling and moaning, like, what is going on? What ends up happening is a vehicle drives up next to the back of the plane. And this vehicle is one of those vehicles where it has like a ladder on it, but it looks kind of like a forklift, right? That you can drive it, but it has a ladder on it. So they pull up to the back of the plane. One of the staff gets up, and there's like 5 or 10 people who come with it. One of the staff gets up, he walks abruptly to the front, to the pilot, and he talks to the pilot for a second, walks back out, and then all of a sudden, police start coming onto the plane. And they're saying, we're gonna detain that person who I mentioned banged on the overhead. Overhead compartment. And so it was strange because of how it happened. There was no communication and it was very weird. But what ended up happening is basically a mutiny ensued on the flight. I mean, almost everybody, me and the person next to me were quiet, and a few other people were quiet because we wanted to get up out of there. We're trying to get home to Sierra Leone. But there were people on there that were saying, this isn't right. If you kick him off the flight, then we're all getting off the flight. I'm like, wait a second. If you kick him off the flight, you guys are all getting off the flight. But if this plane is still leaving, I'm staying on this plane. And I'm going. I'm not getting off this flight because I don't know if I'm going to get my money back. And I'm not trying to sit and wait another however long to get on my flight to Sierra Leone. So they're talking about, oh, we need to get in on this together and all of that. I'm like, look, I'm not getting in on this. He obviously violated some kind of code. They're deciding how they want to handle it. That's his fault. He shouldn't have done that. Nobody else did that. And so in the end, they're going back and forth. They bring the police on. There's a mutiny, arguments back and forth. I just wanted to give you all that context because now you're going to get a chance to be in the middle of it. I'm going to play some of the sound and some of the video from inside the plane when all of this was going down. So check it out.
The flight was 11, this is 7. Someone can you imagine? Are you guys crazy? No, it's because how can you ask him to go down? How can you ask him to go down?
Money to Abuja. What's not rubbish, this man? Oh my God. Refugee biscuits. Up to now, there is shadow on for today. Our flight should be again. Can you please calm down, please?
We're now in hour 3. Still here. Now they're saying that we can't leave because one passenger was unruly and was complaining about being late and not leaving. They've now decided that they're going to remove him from the plane. And so everybody is rebelling and protesting about this. It's crazy. We're all just sitting here. They're saying they're waiting for this to allow us to leave.
The airline calls the CEO of the airline. He comes from his house to the plane, and he's actually on the plane. So now this is like 45 minutes since all of this has happened. So we're nearing like 7 p.m. at this point. The flight was originally supposed to leave at 2 p.m. So we're about 7 p.m. now at this point. He comes on. They say the guy needs to apologize to the pilot. A bunch of people go to the pilot, banging on the pilot's cockpit. This guy is like, listen, he's not coming out there. He locks himself in there. He doesn't come out. So that's when they call the CEO. The CEO then comes. The CEO goes and talks to the pilot, calms the pilot down. He also talks to the passenger. The passenger goes and apologizes to the pilot, right? And then the CEO is like, look, guys, here's the thing. You guys can be, holier than thou and act how you want. But if the pilot does not feel comfortable, this plane does not get off the ground and does not land in the way that you want it to. He needs to be calm and feel good so that you can fly out. So you guys need to calm down, shut your mouth, sit in your seats, and make sure that he feels comfortable so we can fly this plane. And in my mind, I was like, thank God they brought this guy, because otherwise we were never getting off the ground and we were never leaving. We had already been there for 5 hours plus.
So after an extremely long delay, we are now finally taxiing and getting ready to take off. So the passenger, who they said was quote-unquote unruly, had to apologize to the captain. The owner of the plane or the airline or whatever came from home to the airport. They had a conversation with the pilot. He wanted to make sure the pilot was feeling okay, was calmed down so that he could fly, because obviously all of our lives are in his hands. Apparently he's fine now, so we are finally moving.
All right, guys, that was crazy, right? Like, wild. And this is only like a minute and a half to 2 minutes of what actually happened. This was going on for like 50 minutes to an hour, just constant yelling and screaming, people walking up and down the aisles, yelling to the flight attendants. The flight attendants were scared too, so they were staying in the back or in the front. The pilot didn't leave the cockpit. I mean, it was crazy. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. But when you mix two aggressive cultures like this is what happens, right? Because you have Nigerians on that flight that are trying to get out of there. They're a very aggressive and confrontational culture. Then you have Sierra Leoneans on that flight who are also a very aggressive and confrontational culture. So the groups together were basically not having it. That was the craziest airline experience that I've ever experienced in my life. So yeah, it was really aggressive, really crazy, but man, it was an experience. So let me know what you guys think of it. What would you guys have done if you guys were in the middle of that experience? How would you guys have handled it? What would you have done? Would you got off the flight? Would you have joined in with them? Would you have just sat quietly like I did and continued doing your work? Because I got a presentation I had to do the next day, and I didn't have time to join into that because I had stuff I had to work on. But what would you guys have done? Definitely let me know in the comments. That is everything. But overall, of course, all's well that ends well. So the rest of the trip has been good so far. Next week, I'm gonna give you a bunch of events that I'm going to. I went to a chemist event. I went to a new ballin event. There's a bunch of events that happens that are gonna be happening next week. So I'm gonna show you all of that. And then also I got some house updates for you guys next week. Didn't really have any house updates this week because we're in the middle of like kind of waiting for some things to get done. But next week I'll have some updates for you too. All right guys, so with that, thanks for watching. If you know anybody who's planning to travel from Lagos to Sierra Leone, make sure you share this video with them so they know what can happen if you're in Air Peace. I had another friend who was traveling last Sunday and her flight was delayed with Air Peace because of the inclement weather. So you can just be aware that that direct flight may end up being delayed. So it may be better to just take another flight than Air Peace. I'm sorry, I hate to talk about a particular airline, but that was just the worst experience I've ever had on a plane in my entire life, and I've been flying since 1996 regularly. So anyway, beyond that though, share this with anybody who's planning to visit Sierra Leone from Nigeria. So with that guys, thanks for watching. If you like this content, go ahead and hit that thumbs up to hit that like button. Also, share this with anybody who's planning to visit, and then make sure if you're not subscribed, subscribe by hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell and hit all so you get notified every time a new video comes out. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you all in the next video.